types of spirits for magic, and getting started with a spirit model type of practice. Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight, and thank you for joining me today. This is a video for everybody, for YouTube and everywhere else. And yesterday I made one for Patreon, so it's every other video. If I make 2 videos in a day, then, yeah. Anyways, today I'm talking and I appreciate my Patreon subscribers. There is a link to join my Patreon if you're interested in seeing all of my videos here. But today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the spirit model of magic. So, there are 3 basic models of magic. And this just helps us a little bit to conceptualize magic and spells and witchcraft, whatever you want to call it. So, the spirit model is one of the oldest models. But all 3 models can work together. So today, most of us that get into manifesting and things are familiar with the consciousness model. The consciousness model is essentially that thoughts are creative. So if you have positive thinking and you really focus the mind, that this would be a creative force. So, hello Jennifer, so great to see you here. Thank you for tuning in. I'm doing my live here. So the consciousness model of magic is essentially mentalism, that thoughts are creative. So you have positive thinking, you do things like affirmations, and you try to manifest by focused thought. The energy model ties into the other 2 models. It could be thought of as like a sandwich. You have the consciousness or mentalist model, then you have the energy model. Now, the energy model ties into the consciousness model because energy follows thought. The more you think of the tip of your finger, you may notice that the tip of your finger begins to vibrate, right? Because when you focus in one point of your body, it supposedly, right, it sends energy to that point. The more that you focus on a particular thought, the more you send energy to that thought. And you're nurturing whatever you're thinking about. So it's good to think about good things and to nurture those things that nurture you. If you look at the Kabbalistic tree of life and the different sephirot or spheres, okay, and this is very popular in like a modern magic approach. At the bottom is Malkut. It represents the material world. And the other 9 spheres are up above it. Right up above it is Hod and Netzach and Yesod. And these, there are many different ways to look at the tree of life. But at one level, Hod is the thoughts. And Netzach are the emotions. And Yesod could be seen as the subconscious, the hidden factors, right? It's like the dark side of the moon. So what we focus on, we bring about. So the astral plane is a realm that is not quite as solid as here. It is a realm of possibility. The things that are there, some of them are, and some of them kind of exist and kind of don't, right? It's kind of like a dream type of realm. So what we focus on, we're feeding, right? And that energy, a lot of people notice when someone's thinking about them intently, that person comes to the other person's mind because they're sending energy. So at that level, the energy model ties into the consciousness model, but it goes beyond that. With the energy model, you could say that our thoughts, that's like your own energy field. That's one way of looking at it. But we are in a sea of energy. The other aspect of the energy model is understanding things like astrology. Astrology is a type of astral weather. You see the forces that are at work around you. So by understanding a bit about astrology, for example, is it Mercury retrograde, many people are aware of, right? You're aware a little bit of the subtle forces that are around. And this goes into Agrippa's three-world model, which it shouldn't become dogmatic, like that's the way it has to be viewed, but it's a useful model for understanding the Renaissance magic, one of the more influential Renaissance magic perspectives. So the energy model ties into the consciousness model, but beyond it, understanding energy, the astral weather, the energies that are around, being aware of the energies that are present. Also, the energies that are found in stones, the energies that are found in different plants. So, when you look at the four elements, water and earth receive and hold energy. For example, a talisman could be seen as earthy in the sense of its solidity. A talisman holds energy. In the same way, water is receptive, it holds energy, so that a glass of water could be charged. And with bath magic, which ritual baths are very popular in hoodoo, and Santeria, some forms of African religions. But not just that, it's found in Renaissance magic as well. It's found in different parts of the world, the use of ritual baths. The most common, like you hear about, is cleansing away bad luck. The main way of breaking a curse or removing a curse, or let's say everything is negative going on in your life, right? Ritual baths, whether or not the curse be a literal thing, or whether it's something somebody's got an idea in their head, either way, ritual baths are a way to cleanse. The Solomonic bath is very useful. And I made a Patreon video going in depth into like different ways of like breaking curses and things like that. I had someone message me and I just sent it to the person because I'm not gonna somebody needed that, so I just gave it to them. But also ritual baths could be infused with prosperity. You could have a Venus or Aphrodite bath that can be infused with the energies of Venus. You could have a solar bath. So by taking the herbs or the plants or even the oils, things that are associated with a certain planet, as an example, that could be infused and placed into a bath. And you could immerse your whole body. So water is receptive. That's definitely an energy model type of magic. So baths, also food. And that goes into yesterday's video on Patreon where I talked about how different foods, you could use teas that have herbs of certain planets that can be infused with the speaking of the word, because the word is creative, right? The word or the logos, the verbum fiat. So speaking over teas or plants, you're using the energies of the plants. Foods, things like this, these are energies. A lot of people would say that when we eat vegetables or even eat meat, we are not just receiving the material parts of it, we're also receiving the life force or the energy. So the energy model ties into the consciousness model, but the energy model of magic also goes into the energies that are, this is what I was going to say. Fire releases energy. So when you burn herbs, you burn a plant, that releases the properties in the smoke. So while earth and water are receptive and they hold energy, which you can then immerse yourself in a bath, air and fire, they release energy. So fire, when you burn an herb or you burn something, you're releasing energy. Let's say that you're trying to break ties with something. Burn it. Burn it. That releases the energies that were in it, right? So fire releases energy. But again, it goes back to the energy model that we are in a sea of energy, understanding astrological conditions. That's the second world up in Agrippa, understanding astrological conditions. It's like astral weather. Yes, you could swim against the current, like going against the conditions that are at work, or you could swim with the current. So, understanding a bit about astrology, many people find it useful for their magical practice. It's like sailing in the proper weather. You're going with the current, right? You don't want to sail in the middle of a storm. You don't want to go sailing when things are not ideal for that. So you could think of astrology as the astral weather, and weather changes over time, right? So it's about being aware of those subtle forces. You may walk into an area you're thinking about doing a ritual and the energies don't feel right. I don't really want this mixed in with my intentions. Or you may walk into an area and it feels like you're in the woods and it feels like a deeply sacred space. This is a place where I can do magic. So these things don't have to all be used. You could just use the consciousness model. But the energy model, again, it's being aware of those subtle vibrations. We are in a sea of energy and understanding kind of those more subtle energies. The third one is the spirit model. The idea that we are in a peopled cosmos, just like you exist and I exist. There are various intelligences in nature that you could contact. Now, a lot of these classical grimoires from the Renaissance are very much based in the spirit model. The idea that various intelligent forces could be coerced, could be petitioned in a nice way. There's some types of spells like you see in the Greek magical papyri, which is a pagan, to a large extent, a pagan-like text from 2,000 years ago. The PGM, a lot of it is coercion, trying to trap spirits and trying to get them to do your will. So there's a vast spectrum. The various pagan religions that have always existed, you could argue that that is spirit model magic. Usually these pagan religions or polytheistic religions were transactional. You make an offering, a sacrifice or an offering, a libation. You pour a drink offering, a glass of wine to Aphrodite while asking for something. So these various polytheistic, animistic, pagan religions where you work with the goddess of a river, or you work with a sky deity, or you work with sun deities. These various pagan religions that you could say that that is spirit model magic. It is one of the oldest forms of magic, is to think of a force, whether it truly be or not, as personified, to have a name with symbols and mythology, and to have an interaction, and to make an offering to the spirit or the deity, and have watch things start changing and manifesting. So you could say that the voodoo is a spirit model type of magic, a lot of it. You're working with a Loa or Santeria, you're working with Orishas, okay? So these types of religions, or in Palo Mayombe, you're working with the Nkisi or whatever. Working with elemental spirits. So you could say that a lot of these pagan religions, whether you're working with the Olympian pantheon or Norse deities or Irish deities or whatever else, Celtic, that that is a spirit model type of magic. So it's one of the most ancient. A lot of modern magicians, I think there's a little bit of a bias. People tend to disregard the spirit model, but it's very ancient and very potent, or people wouldn't have been working with it for all these thousands of years. So you have the consciousness model, that thoughts are creative. You have the energy model, that energy follows thought, but also we are in a sea of energy. You have astrology, you have the energies that are captured or exist in different plants and stones and harnessing these energies. So the magician is a connecting link. We connect above and below. If you look at the magician card in a lot of old decks, he draws energy from above and channels it below, so that the stone or the amulet is a receptacle, a vessel that you can call down the subtle spiritual forces that it can hold that type of energy. And the spirit model, so consciousness, energy, and spirit model, the spirit model of magic is the idea that there are different consciousnesses, plural, with more and less energy. So the goddess Aphrodite probably has a little bit more energy to work with, you know, than your typical person that you meet, you know, in the line at the bank. So the spirit model. And today I wanted to go a little bit more into the spirit model and different types of spirits, getting to know the spirits. So first of all, I think it's good to make friends with the spirits of a place, spirits of a location. These are the elemental spirits, the spirits of the woods, the spirits of your local creek. I would tread carefully, because if you look at the mythology, now elemental beings are found in every culture around the world. They have elemental beings. You could go to Japan and they have elemental beings. You can go to Africa, they have elemental beings. You can go to Britain. You can go anywhere in the world. They have spirits of the local natural area, right? The Native Americans. Of course, that you can't just lump all of that into one thing. Various different tribes with different mythologies, they had elementals. Now, a lot of these mythologies tell you to tread a little carefully with elementals. It could be a little mischievous, kind of like mischievous children. Some of them are not friendly at all. So with elemental spirits, I think it's good to make friends, so to speak. But I would kind of, you know, there is fairy magic. There are people that specifically work with these types of forces. But I would tread a little carefully and make sure that you're learning in a tradition where they know what they're doing. There are spirits of the planets and stars. And this goes into the Renaissance mage, the Renaissance magic perspective, that we had a peopled cosmos. Every star, every planet had a spirit with a name that could be contacted and petitioned for various things. So working with the spirits of the planets, and also there are chthonic beings also. So there are all different types of entities that can be worked with. A very simple way of working with planetary beings is found right here in the 3 books of occult philosophy, which was published in 1533. Well, 1509 and 1510. It was written, passed around in manuscript form before book 1 was published in 1531, and all 3 books of the occult philosophy of Agrippa published in 1533. If you go in here, it gives you the magical squares, which magical squares are a very ancient thing. And it gives you the sigils of the intelligences and spirits. Now, there are different views of intelligences and spirits of the planets. The classical, if you really look at what Agrippa says, it looks like the intelligence is a good spirit, and the spirit was, it said a demon, which daimon, it could mean all kinds of things. It's not necessarily the Judeo-Christian view, but Agrippa says an intelligence of good, a demon, or spirit of evil. So there are different views on that. A lot of modern lodge magic reinterprets this, whereas an intelligence, like its name implies, is an intelligent force. And spirits are more blind forces that can be a little chaotic. But whatever model you follow with this, you don't call on a spirit without calling on the intelligence. Whatever the case may be, I don't really have a, an opinion on that. But the intelligences, I've worked with the intelligences of the planets, and it's very effective. So very easy, very simple. You can take a talisman and put the magic square on one side of the planet and the seal, and on the other side you can put the sigil of the intelligence, and around it write your petition. Okay, in an astrologically auspicious time, that's getting into that energy model, being aware of the astral weather, the energies at work at the proper time, and you go sailing in the right weather. You call upon the intelligence to imbue the talisman or to speak to you in a crystal ball. And that's one of the more exciting aspects of ceremonial magic, is interacting with spirits face to face in a scrying crystal, or some people manifest spirits in the incense smoke, and or try to have just a direct face to face communication. So they're spirits of the seasons, they're spirits of all kinds of things. So this idea that we live in a peopled cosmos, and you don't have to subscribe to this model, but it's useful to help conceptualize. In Agrippa's three-world model, there is a higher-up realm, the divine realm of Platonic ideas and archetypes. So this is all stuff for us to play with. Not just think about, but play with it. Okay? Try these things out. Test it. Experiment. But you have the material world here at the bottom. Then you have the astrological realm, the celestial. Then you have the divine. So the divine realm, if you're working with archangels of the planets, some would put pagan deities there from a pagan perspective, because paganism has always had a role in ceremonial magic. Just look at the PGM. And some would put intelligences also up in the divine realm, that I would say, especially with archangels, you don't have to worry quite so much about astrological conditions. So if you don't really understand about dignities and aspects and combustion and all these types of astrological things, the planetary archangels are said to be up above the astrological, not limited by astrological conditions. So that might be a good approach if you don't really understand a lot of the astrology. Also, a softer versus a hard approach. The hard approach would be imbue this talisman. Come and speak to me in a crystal ball, right? That's the hard approach. If you don't know much about the astrological conditions, it might be useful just light a candle to the archangel of the planet and ask for something, kind of a softer approach, instead of just bringing in a ton of energy and trying to manifest an entity in the incense smoke. Most of the people that want that, they're after just something exciting, or they want evidence or something, or they want to, usually it's not, not with the best, why do you want that, You're dealing with subtle forces and energies, and you're trying to force something that doesn't really belong here to not just come here but then manifest itself. Although manifestations very typically, especially with scrying crystals. Now, if we're getting into scrying with like crystal balls and things like that, if you're getting into that type of thing, then what you could do with the crystal ball is you could anoint it with the oils of the plant, herbs or plants that are associated with the angel, or spirit or planet. The crystal ball could be anointed with that. You could even have like colored candles associated. So correspondences act a little bit as like the personal telephone number of the spirit. It's like tuning your instrument to a particular frequency. And it really doesn't matter if you see things more psychological, or you see things more, however you see this, The correspondences act as a way to tap into a particular consciousness. You don't just want to say, hello, anyone that's out there, like on a Ouija board. You want to kind of turn your dial to a particular station that you want to listen to. So you do that with correspondences. So crystal balls could be anointed with the particular oil, you use the particular incense. And then you have working with the dead. You have necromancy. So these are all these ancient practices of working with entities. Now, and then you have things like spirit guides, which is not just this new age term. Like if you look at Espiritismo, and a lot of that, like the idea that each person has their own spiritual frame, their own quadro espiritual, or their own group of spirits that are like guiding them. And some would say that everyone carries benevolent spirits that want to help them, and their own like negative spirits that are going to test them. Many would say that we each carry our own personal daimon or personal guardian angel or spirit that works with us. So, a lot of people that work more within a spirit model way of looking at things, one of the first steps in magic is understanding what spirits walk with you. Okay? There are different ways to do that. If you're within a specific tradition, then you can get a reading. Someone that's initiated as a priest of that tradition, maybe they can help you to do some type of oracle reading to try to see what spirits walk with you. This is common in things like Palo Mayombe and Espiritismo and Voodoo. And then also watching your dreams. Dreams are, to a certain extent, the other side of life. Dreams are the other side of things. Each day we go through a life cycle. When we wake up, we are in a sense born. We go throughout our day. That's life. At the end of the day, we start winding down. We're not quite as active. We're relaxed and we look back at what we did. That's like old age. And then when we go to sleep, we lie down. We appear to be dead. We close our eyes and we enter into another world. So you could see how our daily life is like a life cycle, right? So the world of dreams, that is a place that spirits may establish contact. A lot of times, not always, but when a spirit really resonates with you, that is the spirit that you're to work with. And of course I talk about the Shem angels. So the Shem angels are very effective, extremely effective. I've had a lot of goetic magicians and stuff message me and be like, wow, the Shem angels are every bit as effective as working with like the Ars Goetia. Every bit as effective. Very quick, very rapid. You get results. So the 72 angels of the Shem HaMepharesh are very effective and very safe. You don't have to have a whole lot of equipment or tools. And I don't think that it matters what religion you are or whatever. A lot of people, this will upset a lot of people, I'm sure. There are going to be people that'll hit the unsubscribe button. I'm never watching you again, Taliesin McKnight. It's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure, But it's not an airport, you don't have to announce your departure. I'm getting off a high. But, I'm honest in my videos. Some people will like what I say and some people won't. But it's my channel. Like, I say what I feel, So this is going to upset some people, but I'm not a Christian or a Jew. I don't talk about it in my videos, but I work with an Irish pantheon, I'm more into like the Celtic and, I'm a pagan. I work with like the Tuatha De Danann and the Dagda and Bridget and Tyrannus and Ogma and stuff like that. I get a lot into the Irish stuff, which for me is ancestral, but like it doesn't have to be. But I'm living proof My whole life has been transformed by the Shem angels. I talk about the Shem angels, and I'm not a Christian. I'm a pagan. And I know that's going to upset some people. I know there's going to be some typing going on. But it's just the truth, you know? You want me to lie? Or you want me to change my life to fit, you know? But I've had many people message me, you know, that they come from all these different traditions. And yet the Shem angels are powerful for them. The Shem angels, I still use the Psalm verse because that's part of that's when I approach a spirit, I try to approach a spirit in a way that the spirit is used to being approached. Otherwise, and I think this is a tip for spirit model type magic, you know, it's like inviting someone into your house and you offer them things that you like to eat. Your guest might kind of look at you and you're like, I don't like this. And you say, well, it doesn't matter, you know, it's about what I like. And it's like, no, I don't like this. Well, you're in my home, so you're going to eat what I want. That's how I look at spirit model magic. The spirit is a guest. You approach the guest in the way that the guest is used to being approached. So my way of doing Shem angel magic, I would not do it with, you know, a Kernunos on the altar and all these things that are from other traditions. I clear the altar off. It's just the Shem angel. I use the Psalm verse. So I approach it in the way that the spirit is used to being addressed. That is just my way. I don't like to mix things, you know. And it's like going on a date or something. You want it to be just about this person. You know, let's say you sit down and have a conversation with someone special, and in the middle of the conversation, you're like, hold on a second, I got a phone call. And then they're texting and like they're talking to other people, and you're like, why am I here? They're talking to all these, like, talk to me. That's how I approach spirit model magic. And some people may find that useful. When you call a spirit, I clear everything else off the altar. I clear all the clutter out of my head, all my daily life. For this moment, you're all that exists for me. I'm focused on you respectfully with all reverence, and we have an interaction. So, you know, that's a little bit about the spirit model of magic. And there are many different types of entities that could be worked with. And of course, you have to be careful because spirits, I believe, I don't think they're all parts of my unconscious. I think if you're, you know, just planning to talk to your head, that's probably what you're going to get. My personal view, I see these things as external, like other people. And some entities, not everyone is friendly. In the same way, some entities are more cool and peaceful, and some entities are very hot and fiery, you know? So you have to be careful when working with spirits, that you do your research, talk to others that work with a particular spirit, learn about the history of a spirit, learn about the correspondences, the times, the colors. Spirits appreciate when you take the extra effort to learn about that entity. And not to just blend everything together. Oh, well, you're like this spirit, so you must be the same. You need to appreciate the individuality. Even if at a higher level, they are the same deity. At this manifestation, this is this particular being. Now, that is just my opinion, just giving my honest opinion and honest approach. But basically, we have three models of magic. The consciousness model, that thoughts are creative and make reality. The energy model, that energy follows thought, but also looking at things like astrology and feeling the energies of the room, being aware that we are in an ocean of energy and going with the tides of nature. And then we have the spirit model, that there are different consciousnesses with different levels of energy or ashe or power at their disposal and approaching these beings. So the consciousness, energy, and spirit models of magic, it's a useful framework for many people. So this is a video for everyone. Every other video is just for Patreon, which eventually gets released after a year. It's like it goes to everybody. But today is a video for YouTube and everybody. So that's just a little bit about the spirit model of magic. And speaking from the heart, speaking from my honest perspective on all of these. So hopefully somebody, you found that useful. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate all of y'all. And for all my viewers out there, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It helps out my channel and helps me to just put my focus on this. So please consider subscribing to my Patreon. And I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, y'all.